Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is August 1st. The trade deadline has come and gone, and we've got loads to talk about. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the month of August. 2 months left to go for the baseball season, and the trade deadline was yesterday. I gotta admit, this is only a few hours after the deadline's done. I'm recording this well in advance. Mariners and Rangers just played their first game. They just finished that. So we're here. We're talking about it. Lots to do. And it's going to be a long episode. We're going to be talking about all the trades. But first, let's just dump in, get through quickly the series recap. Leading things off, we have the Rays and the Yankees in a 4-game set. Junior Caminero hits his 27th homer of the year, leading the Rays to a 4-2 win, but it was all Yankees from there. Bellinger, a 3-run home run. Volpe goes deep in the game 2, 7-5 New York. In Game 3, it's Grisham, it's Volpe, it's Josh Lowe, who all go deep in the 8th and 9th innings. This one ended up tied and going to extras. Austin Wells made a big error on the base bats that could have cost the Yankees the win, but thanks to the newly addition of Ryne McMahon, he drives in the walk-off single as the Yankees win this one 5-4 in the 11th and get the fourth game overall. 7-4 Yankees. Stanton and Rice both go deep, and the Yankees take 3 of 4 from the Rays. Blue Jays and the Oilers were in a bird battle here, and the red-hot Blue Jays were frozen in the hot Baltimore weather. Mullins, Mayo, Laureano, Cowser, 4 homers lead Baltimore to an 11-4 victory. Ramon Urias, a 2-homer game. Tyler O'Neill, Gunnar Henderson, another 4-homer day for Baltimore, leads them to a 16-4 win. In Game 3, they scored 3 unanswered as they got a comeback win, scoring the go-ahead run in the 8th, 3-2 Baltimore. But the Blue Jays salvaged the series. They avoid the 4-game sweep. Miles Straw hits his 2nd home run of the year. And Nathan Lucas, the clutch 3-run home run for his 2nd home run of the series. That's the difference in this one. 9-8 Blue Jays. Red Sox and Twins, after a 90-minute rain delay, the Twins walk it off thanks to Brooks Lee getting a 2-run single to win it 5-4 for the Twins. He would come back and have 2 homers in the second game, but Trevor Story, Jarren Duran, they go deep for the Red Sox as they take an 8-5 victory. And in the rub match, it's Story again, it's Duran again. They're joined by Rami Gonzalez and Masataka Yoshida getting his first homer of the year. 13-1 Red Sox as they take 2 of 3 from Minnesota. Rockies and Guardians. Hello, Warming, Bernabel, and Hunter Goodman. They go deep. The Rockies score 4 in the 9th to come back and steal this win. 8-6 Colorado. Great game for them. But the Guardians handled the series from there. Kyle Manzardo, a 2-homer game in the second game. A 10-4 victory for Cleveland, followed up by a 5-0 victory as David Fry gets a 2-run home run, his 5th of the year. Guardians, 2 of 3 from Colorado. D-backs and the Tigers. Tigers right their ship. Andy Ibanez, Dylan Dingler, they go deep in Game 1, 5-1 Detroit. It's Gleyber Torres, Riley Green, and Zach McKinstry going deep for the Tigers in Game 2 for a 12-2 victory. And then it's Kerry Carpenter and Jake Rogers who both go deep in a 7-2 Tigers win as they sweep the Diamondbacks and get all 3 games. Braves and Royals now. Acuna hits one 468 feet. He's joined by Marcell Ozuna and Austin Riley in the home run department. Randall Grichuk hits his first home run as a Royal, but the Braves hold on 10-7 the final there. Ozuna and Riley would go deep again in Game 2, but it's Pasquantino who goes deep for Kansas City as they score 5 runs in the 6th inning and hold a 9-6 victory to even out the series. And in the final game, it was 0-0 for 9 straight innings, but in the 10th, it's the captain, Salvador Perez, with the walk-off single, who wins it 1-0 for the Royals as they take 2 of 3 from Atlanta. Phillies and White Sox. Now the White Sox on a bit of a series streak here. They've been winning series left, right, and center coming out of the All-Star break, and they do so against the Phillies. How about that? Colson Montgomery, Luis Robert Jr., they both go deep in a 6-2 win. Kyle Schwarber hits his 37th home run of the year to help the Phillies get a win here, 6-3 the final there. But in that final game, it's the rookies, Kyle Teal, Colson Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, Edgo Quero, all four going deep. The White Sox win it 9-3. They take 2 of 3 from the Phillies, helping out the Mets in a big way. Rangers and Angels now. Kevin Newman, Taylor Ward, Luis Rengifo would all go deep for the Halos in a 6-4 victory. Kyle Higashioka would get a 2-homer game for Texas, but the Angels score 4 in the 6th and hold on to an 8-5 victory. They would look for the sweep, but wouldn't get it as Adolis Garcia hits his 15th homer of the year to help Texas to a 6-3 win as they avoid the sweep to the Halos, who take 2 of 3. Mariners and A's now. Josh Naylor getting his first home run as a Mariner as they take a 3-1 victory in the opener. But the A's get the final laughs here. Brent Rooker and Shea Langeliers both go deep in Game 2 for a 6-1 win. And then Miguel Andujar in his last game as an A, he gets a 2-homer game, helps them out. Brent Rooker goes deep as well as Daryl Hernandez. As the A's win it 5-4, they take 2 of 3 from Seattle, doing the Astros a favor, who are hosting the Nationals here. Riley Adams gets his 6th homer of the year. That's the difference in this game as the Nationals win it 2-1. Astros come back in Game 2. Yanyer Diaz goes deep for a 7-4 Astros win. And in the rubber match, it's Jose Altuve, it's Cooper Hummel, and it's Yanyer Diaz once again. 9-1 Astros as they take 2 of 3 from the Nationals and get the game up on the Mariners as well as one on the Rangers. Big week here for Houston. Marlins and Cardinals now. Alec Burleson will go deep in the first game, helping the Cardinals to a 7-1 win. And then it was the Miami pitching that held the Cardinals for 2 straight games. Graham Pauley goes deep for the Miami Marlins, 5-0 in Game 2, and then 2-0 in the third and final game. Jesus Sanchez hits his 10th home run, the 2-run shot, the only 2 runs in this one, and it's his last game as a Marlin. Miami takes 2 of 3 from the Cardinals and shut them out in the final 2 games here. Cubs and Brewers, the series of the week, tied for first in the NL Central, tied for first in the NL as a whole. The Brewers would take Game 1. Andrew Vaughn, Sal Frelick, Christian Yelich, they all go deep. Despite the Cubs getting to Mizorowski in the first, 8-4 Brewers, the final there. In Game 2, it is Andrew Vaughn, who they acquired earlier from this year in a trade. He gets a clutch grand slam to blow this game out of the water. 9-3 Milwaukee as they would take the series. They would go for a huge sweep. William Contreras hits a 2-homer game, but Ian Happ goes deep for the Cubs, who score 4 runs in the third. They would help them out to a 10-3 win. As the Cubs avoid the sweep, get a game, but the Brewers have the 1-game lead over the Cubs. Dodgers and Reds now. Teo and Ohtani get 2 RBIs each in this one for a 5-2 Dodgers win. Tommy Edman goes deep in Game 2, and Will Smith, a go-ahead double in the 9th, leads to a 5-4 Dodgers win. The Reds, though, avoid the sweep. They score 3 in the 8th to take the lead and win this one 5-2. LA taking 2 of 3 from Cincy, though. Pirates and Guardians, Nick Gonzalez, Andrew McCutcheon, they both go deep in a 6-5 Pirates win. Leover Paguro goes deep for the Pirates in Game 2, a 3-1 Pirates win. And the third and final game would end up in the 10th inning into extras. Henry Davis, an RBI ground out. They hold the Giants from there as the Pirates sweep the Giants. Big dagger there, 2-1 the final in Game 3. Which brings us to the final series, Mets and Padres. Mark Vientos hits a grand slam. Ronnie Mauricio, a game-tying home run, and it still didn't matter. All of that for the Padres to walk it off. Elias Diaz, the walk-off single. Padres get this one 7-6 as they take the opener. Manny Machado hits his 20th home run of the season in Game 2 to a 7-1 Padres win. And in the final game, it's Gavin Sheets who goes deep. It's 5-0 Padres as they sweep the Mets at home. And that's your series recap. All right, now for the game of the week, we're taking you to San Diego. Mets and Padres here, the first of three. Top of the seconds when the scoring got started, Brett Baty, a sac fly, put the Mets up 1. But the Padres get the run back in the bottom of the third. Xander Bogaerts, an RBI single, ties this game at 1. Now, in the top of the fifth, earlier in this game, Mark Vientos was robbed of a home run by Fernando Tatis Jr. This time, he gets his grand slam, his 7th home run of the season. It's 5-1 Mets. They are in the driver's seat in this one. But in the bottom of the fifth, here come the Padres. Luis Arias, a 2-run homer, his 6th of the year, got the Padres going. Jake Cronenworth, an RBI single. And then Bryce Johnson, an RBI single, tied this game up 5-5. They weren't done. Elias Diaz, an RBI single. Padres from down 4 to up 1 with a 5-run 5th inning. They would hold this lead until the top of the 9th, where they were looking for the win. Robert Suarez blows the save as Ronnie Mauricio hits his 6th home run of the season. A solo shot ties the game up at 6. What a clutch homer for him, but it only delayed the inevitable because in the bottom of the 9th, Elias Diaz, the walk-off single, 7-6 the final. Padres win this one thanks to the walk-off hit from Diaz, and they were all over this one. They ended up sweeping the series, but this game was your game of the week. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? I would say it's time, but we have one thing to talk about here over the week. Unfortunately, Cubs legend Ryne Sandberg did pass away this past week. The Hall of Famer, MVP, 10-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glove winner, 7-time Silver Slugger, as well as a Home Run Derby champion. Had 13 games as a member of the Phillies when he debuted in 1981, but from there, he was a Cub, spent 15 years with the organization. He won his MVP in 1984. It was his first year as an All-Star, really broke out that year. Had 114 runs, led the league, and was just absolute star player from that point on. Plenty of times he's led the league in runs. He picked up 40 home runs one year in 1990, led the league there. So yeah, an overall great player, one of the best second basemen ever to lace up their cleats and head onto the field. 68 career WAR, 2,386 hits, over 1,000 runs, over 1,000 RBIs, a career OPS of just below 800 at 795. And a career batting average of 285 with 282 home runs. So may he rest in peace, and thoughts and prayers for the Cubs organization, family involved. And yeah, kind of a sad way to start the week, unfortunately. But we do need to get going into the baseball news here, and we got to talk about the trade deadline. That is all the news we've got really from the week here. And I mean, this is only a few hours removed from the deadline, so I mean, this is still a lot of raw emotion. Still a lot probably will be coming out over the next couple of days of possible what-if trades, things that almost happened, things that I'm very excited to see. But we can only go off of what we have right now. We have plenty of moves. Over 60 trades happened this week, and if you go include some of the ones from last week and the weekend already, we had about 70 or so trades for this deadline. And I mean, to be honest with you, this is probably one of the craziest deadlines we've had in a really long time. I mean, the last one I'm thinking of, maybe 2021. Even that wasn't even that crazy. You had the Dodgers trading away, the Nationals trading away Scherzer and Turner to the Dodgers. The Twins trade Barrios to the Blue Jays. There was a whole bunch of, I feel like, good trades that year. But this year had plenty of trades. And I was trying to think of the best way to do it here. I'm going to be talking about it just kind of overall here. And then I'm going to kind of go through each of the top teams and just go over their moves. Because I laid everything out originally as they were happening. And I looked at it. I'm like, this is choppy. It's long and lengthy. And I did want to shorten this up. We're probably going to be talking about the deadline for at least 15, 20 minutes here. So gear up for that. So let's talk about it. Let's start with the biggest buyers here. Padres, big buyers. Yankees did a lot of adding to the bullpen. They addressed a lot of needs. The Mets and the Phillies were going band for band with their trades. Astros brought in some big players. The Tigers brought in some big arms. Those 5 teams were really going out here at the deadline here. Of course, you had teams that, if teams are buying, teams got to be selling. Nobody sold more than the Twins. The D-backs went all out crazy selling as well. And then, of course, you have a couple of those teams that kind of just feel lost in the sauce. Teams that don't really have an identity this year. The Royals, the Rays, both of them sold some players, bought some players. They were kind of in the mix a little bit. They're still in the hunt, but you don't really know what to expect off of that. But based on the deadline, this is my hunch. The teams that I would say are dead, obviously you have some of the obvious ones: Rockies, White Sox, Nationals, the Braves, the Pirates, the A's, the Oilers, the D-backs, the Twins, the Marlins, and the Cardinals. I feel like in my heart are all dead. Then you have the teams that are kind of in the mix, didn't do much. They sold a little bit, maybe bought a couple things. The Angels, the Rays, the Giants, Royals, and Guardians. These 5 teams I feel like are on the edge of kind of being dead, but also still have some fight in them where if they get hot in August, they can make a push for the postseason. And then you have, in my mind, the top 14 teams, and of this top 14, 12 of which will make the postseason. That includes the Brewers, Cubs, Tigers, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Astros, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, Padres, Red Sox, Reds, Mariners, and Rangers. These are the 14 teams that we'll be kind of going over pretty quickly here. And going over all of their additions, because all of them made at least a couple of adds to help in their postseason pushes and their pennant chases and all that stuff from there. We had a couple players that I wanted to mention that didn't get moved, that were rumored a whole bunch and just didn't end up going anywhere. Sandy Alcantara, Joe Ryan, Mackenzie Gore, Zach Gallen, Stephen Kwan, Jarren Duran, Luis Robert Jr., Brandon Lau, Marcell Ozuna, and Dylan Cease. These are the 10 guys that kind of kept getting rumored throughout the day here and never ended up making that big move. Some of them I was kind of shocked on. Jarren Duran, Stephen Kwan. I mean, Cleveland is a little bit lost right now. They did sell a couple players, but I mean, Kwan is still under control for 2 years. He's still kind of a face of that franchise now alongside Jose Ramirez. And the Guardians aren't far out, so I didn't know why he was such a big talk, like trade piece. Same thing with Boston with Jarren Duran. He's the kind of guy who, brings people to that stadium, brings people to Fenway Park. They already traded Rafael Devers earlier this year. I couldn't see them trading Jarren Duran. He's kind of a staple there in center field. He's having a down year, sure, but he's definitely been a leader for a lot of the young kids, which are some of the reasons why they're in the position they are. Trevor Story's kind of bounced back a little bit. He's been playing pretty well. And then you have the guys like Roman Anthony and some of the other young kids who have stepped up in a big way. And the season's not lost. The Red Sox are in a wild card position, so I don't know why Jarren Duran was in trade talks here. There were some guys that did surprise me. The main one being Zach Gallen. The D-backs are essentially done this year. He's a free agent, so unless they really think they can sign him, or if they're going to offer him a qualifying offer and think that the draft pick they get, if he decides to sign somewhere else, was worth more than what people were offering, that's kind of the confusing thing for me. Other guys, hit or miss. Luis Robert Jr., if there was the right offer, I feel like he could have gone, but the White Sox, probably asked for a little bit more than teams were willing to pay. Ozuna, maybe because of his, media troubles at times in his career, people are hesitant to take on him, but he's a free agent, so Braves, what we're doing there. Dylan Cease, kind of the same thing here. It was like Padres kind of went all in at the deadline. You'll see what they ended up doing, but I mean, there was just some of the moves that, or some of the rumors that didn't end up happening. Joe Ryan was rumored a whole bunch, and with the Twins on an absolute fire sale, surprised he didn't get moved. He did actually potentially get moved for 2 minutes, thanks to Fox Sports MLB. On the Instagram, they posted a graphic that stated that Joe Ryan was traded from the Twins to the Red Sox. That graphic was up for 2 minutes before it was deleted, and the rest of the deadline went through, and Joe Ryan was not traded. But for 2 minutes, MLB, Fox Sports thought everyone, people thought that Joe Ryan was headed to the Red Sox thanks to Fox Sports there, but it was inherently a mistake there. And Joe Ryan is one of the remaining players on this Twins team that, lost everything, essentially. The big position at the deadline here, relief pitchers, closing pitchers, 23 relief/closing pitchers switched teams. They got traded throughout the days here. You would think starters more so, but no, it's the relief and closing pitchers. There was a stat that I saw about 52% of all postseason innings last year were pitched from the relief pitchers. It's, pitching depth. It's important. That's what some of these teams went through. Teams like the Yankees really overhauled their bullpen. The Padres went all out, and they had to give up a number one prospect to do so. The Astros reunited with an old friend. The Mariners added some much-needed offense. The Tigers added a bunch of arms. With that all being said, that's kind of the big overhaul recap here. There's, everything that needed to be mentioned kind of getting mentioned here. Let's get into it. Let's start with the really just kind of the sad part about the deadline here, and that was the Minnesota Twins. Their organization, I feel like they blew up. It was really atrocious. 26-man roster, 11 guys were traded away. An absolute burn your franchise to the ground, colossal garage sale. And it kind of started, it didn't start with Correa, but when he went, a lot of the other players were soon traded. And Correa had a no-trade clause, but he lifted it for one team and one team only, and that was to go back to the Houston Astros. Minnesota and Houston, they worked out a deal. Correa is heading back to the Astros. But from there, they traded away Johan Duran from the bullpen, Griffin Jacks, Willie Castro, Danny Colum, Chris Paddock, Harrison Bader, Ty France, Brock Stewart, Louis Varland, Randy Dobnak. 11 of the 26 players gone. And I mean, don't look at the Twins starting roster for tomorrow. Don't look at the rotation. Don't look at the bullpen. You got a bunch of guys who'll be coming up, making debuts, and the Twins went from having an identity kind of to having nobody. And we had the quotes from Byron Buxton, who was in some trade rumors earlier in the week, saying that he has a no-trade clause. He's a Twin for life. He's happy here. He loves it. He's on the IL right now, but, he's going to come back and be like, where the hell did his team go? Because they're all gone. And, the Correa move, it's more of a salary dump for Minnesota. I say it's a sad thing for Minnesota because they got away so many players. They did get some nice prospects throughout all these trades that they made. And, there is a lot of money that came off the book. So it was productive, but it definitely was a big teardown. It's going to be a bit of an overhaul. The rest of the year is probably going to be really ugly for the Twins. This was kind of a worst case scenario for any team, really, is when you have so many players and, some of them just on 1-2 year contract control still, and they just burn it to the ground. Absolute, just blow up. Everything was bad. But Minnesota took the biggest hit here. So now let's get going into, the teams here, the top 14 that I was talking about. Starting with the Brewers, they bring in Danny Jansen from the Rays, Jordan Montgomery, and Shelby Miller from the D-backs. They end up losing Nestor Cortez to the Padres. Overall, I like it for the Brewers. They added, a couple pitchers to help out in the pen. Montgomery, we'll see what he ends up doing if he starts or comes out of the bullpen. You get Danny Jansen to back up William Contreras. So overall, for the Brewers, I like it. Nothing crazy, but, still adding and still brought a couple guys over. For the Cubs, they added Mike Soroka from the Nationals, Andrew Kittredge from the Oilers, Willie Castro from the Twins, and Taylor Rogers from the Pirates, who came over from the Reds. overall, I feel like the Cubs kind of not mimicked the Brewers, but knew what they needed to do. Mike Soroka, some pitching help, who, of course, had a very solid year 1 year with the Braves. From there, dealing with injuries. Hasn't been great for the Nats, but had a couple of nice starts throughout the year here. Willie Cascio, position depth. Guy can play outfield, guy can play infield. You will see him starting. You will see him kind of be that big, I feel like difference maker in a lineup here for the Cubs. Taylor Rogers helps out the bullpen in a big way. They ended up DFAing Ryan Presley in the trades today. So Rogers will take over here and he will join the Cubs bullpen. Overall, really solid stuff from the Cubs as well. The Tigers, they went out and they got arms, man. They got Chris Paddock from the Twins, Rafael Montero from the Braves, Paul Sewald from the Guardians, Kyle Finnegan from the Nats, Charlie Morton from the O's, Cody Hero from the Rangers, and they ended up doing all this, lose a couple prospects, as well as Matt Manning, who ended up going to the Phillies. The Tigers, they kind of did this last year when they got into the postseason. They didn't really have a set rotation. They didn't really have a set bullpen. AJ Hinch manages his bullpen better than any manager in the big leagues. And I think a lot of these guys here, you're going to see coming out in weird situations, especially for the postseason, which the Tigers are almost all but guaranteed a spot in. But, you'll see Paul Sewald come out in the 5th inning, or you'll see him save a game in the 9th. I mean, that's going to be the Tigers' way. That's what they did last year. It's what they're going to do this year. I think Charlie Morton's an interesting ad, 40-something-year-old veteran guy. He's been a clutch pitcher for the Braves in postseason games and had some big stuff for the Astros as well. He now comes back. He knows AJ Hinch really well. Chris Paddock had a good start for the Tigers already. So some big moves there for the Tigers. Overall, I think it's good that they got some arms, but in this recent slump that they've been in, it's because the offense hasn't been producing as much as they had been. A lot of their offensive players that had been carrying them throughout the season, they were all slumping. And, I think they didn't do enough to address the offense in this team. So I think it's still up to them to kind of get it together and to kind of click here. If the offense clicks, Tigers will be fine. But pitching addressed, great. Offense could have used some work. Overall, solid stuff from the Tigers. The Toronto Blue Jays didn't do a whole lot, but they did get some key pieces here. They added Seranthony Dominguez from the Oilers, Shane Bieber from the Guardians, as well as Ty France and Louis Varland from the Twins. They end up losing Will Wagner to the Padres in all of the hectic trades today. The Seranthony Dominguez trade was actually really fun and interesting because on Tuesday, the Jays and O's played a doubleheader. In Game 1, Dominguez was with Baltimore, and during the time off between Games 1 and Game 2 is when the trade happened. So Dominguez then had to grab his stuff, walk over to the other side of the clubhouse, and join the Blue Jays for Game 2. So he woke up as a member of the Baltimore O's and went to bed as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. Really weird stuff from that. Kind of things you only see in MLB, which is absolute. You'd love to see it. The Jays added Shane Bieber, who hasn't pitched in a Major League game since April 2024. He's been rehabbing from Tommy John, but he's close and should be coming back to the Major League mound in about a week or two. So the Jays will get some starting pitching depth there. They add Ty France as kind of a back-end bench for Vladdy, and then Louis Varland, who's had a great season for the Twins. So really strong stuff from the Jays. 2 key pieces to the bullpen, and kind of a 50-50 mix on Shane Bieber because he also has a player option. So if he pitches poorly, you're on the books for that. If he pitches well, he might leave. So very interesting to see what will happen with Bieber here. But for now, we'll see if the gamble plays off for the Blue Jays. The Dodgers, they didn't need to do a whole bunch because they added so much in their offseason. They did pick up Brock Stewart from the Twins to help with the bullpen, as well as Alex Call from the Nats. They trade James Outman to the Twins, and that was in the Brock Stewart trade. And they also sent Dustin May to the Boston Red Sox. So, I mean, there you go. That's how confident the Dodgers are. They didn't really add much. They added a relief pitcher for an Outman, and then trade away May, get Call. So yeah, simple for the Dodgers. Like I said, they're a really good team overall. They didn't have to do much, and the Padres kind of really went all in, and the Dodgers just kind of, did a couple housekeeping things. That's how I feel about it. The Astros, I think, had one of the more fun trade deadlines. They pick up Ramon Urias from the O's. They grab Jesus Sanchez from the Marlins, who I think has a lot of power. I think that's a really sneaky good ad for the Astros. And then I think one of my favorite trades from the day, Carlos Correa is coming back to Houston. It just feels right. And I know what you're thinking. Don't they have Jeremy Pena? They do have Jeremy Pena. He is their shortstop. Correa is going to be playing third base. I believe that's what the report's been saying, and that's kind of the identity that the Astros will be shaping. I love this for Houston. I think, to bring back Correa, you had to choose between him and Pena. They let Correa walk. He signs to the Twins. Pena comes up, a solid year, a down year. This year has been a kind of crazy breakout year for him. And you're missing an infielder. What do? You go back and bring a guy who has so many iconic moments and kind of knows the franchise so well. I think seeing Altuve and Correa back together in Houston, wearing the uniform, I'm going to be very happy to watch that. I'm kind of extremely excited for it. I love this trade for the Houston. And even for Minnesota, like I said, salary dump for the Twins. Good stuff overall. This trade, one of my favorite trades. Absolutely love it for Houston to bring back Correa. Is really special for, I think, him, Altuve, the fans, organization as a whole. Good stuff. The Mets here, and the Mets and Phillies kind of do it kind of hand in hand because they kind of went back and forth with each other. The Mets, they added Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. That's a big ad there. They added Cedric Mullins from the O's. That's a huge ad for center. That kind of maintains everything in center field. He's that amazing defensively, as well as Tyler Rogers from the Giants. A fun stat here, actually. Both the Roger brothers, Taylor and Tyler, were traded on Wednesday. It's the same. I think probably the first time ever that twins brothers have been traded on the same day. It's actually funny because then Taylor was then traded again on Thursday. So Taylor got traded twice. Tyler only got traded once, but he's with the Mets here. They add to the bullpen, so they bring in Tyler Rogers, Ryan Helsley. If you go back even last week, they also picked up Gregory Soto before the deadline and everything. So the Mets kind of overhauling their bullpen a little bit as well. Pick up Mullins. The Phillies, on the other hand, they went out and they picked up Johan Duran from the Twins. They pick up Harrison Bader from the Twins as well. And Matt Manning from the Tigers. They lose Mick April to the Twins in the deals here. But yeah, like I said, it kind of went back and forth between the Phillies and the Mets. It's like, okay, Phillies add Johan Duran, elite closer from the Twins. Mets will add Ryan Helsley, elite closer from the Cardinals. Phillies add Harrison Bader, elite defender, center fielder from the Twins. Mets will add Cedric Mullins, elite defender, center fielder from the Orioles. Like, they kind of just went bang for bang, and I found that really fun and really interesting. Anything the Phillies did, Mets had to one up. You bring in Duran, we'll bring in Helsley. So overall, loved it for the Mets. Phillies, I think, could have done more, but I think offensively they were still fine. They still have a very solid team. I prefer the Phillies team on paper over than the Mets. But I really like the additions that the Mets made. Tyler Rogers has a really funky delivery, very good stuff. Cedric Mullins, once a Silver Slugger, 30-30 type player, obviously down years since, but still an absolute electric center fielder. He made an amazing catch against the Blue Jays to rob Ali Sanchez over the week here. And then Ryan Helsley, I think, is one of the more dominant pitchers in baseball coming out of the back end pen there. Obviously Edwin Diaz, he's around, he's the closer there, but Ryan Helsley is going to be kind of the best setup man in baseball coming out of the 8th inning probably. So that's a big move there for the Mets. Love that for them. Love it for the Phillies. Speaking of bullpens especially, the Yankees did a number on their bullpen, as well as some depth in the infield. They add Austin Slater from the White Sox. They add Jose Caballero from the Rays. And they add David Bednar from the Pirates, Camilo Doval from the Giants, and Jake Bird from the Rockies. You had that with Ryan McMahon. The Yankees, I think, maybe had one of, if not the best deadline overall. I really love the moves that the Yankees made. They lose Oswald Peraza to the Angels, but I don't think they care about that too much when you bring in so much talent. I mean, Slater is a lefty pitcher killer. Jose Caballero is a speed threat defender, plays anywhere in the infield, really strong stuff there. And then the bullpen, I mean, they bring in Devin Williams in a trade over the offseason. He's been as much of a coin flip as, any other reliever. And for, the guy that you went out to go get to close out games, he's not been reliable. So what do? You go get 3 other closers, and now you have a mess of guys. I think Aaron Boone has a lot of power in this situation when you have guys like Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, David Bednar, Camilo Duvall, Jake Bird. I mean, the bullpen for the Yankees is very nice and the if here's the big if Boone can manage it wisely. He is no AJ Hinch when it comes to the bullpen. We've seen Aaron Boone make some colossal mistakes. It's going to be very interesting because a lot of these guys, Bednar and Duvall especially, are kind of used to coming out in the 9th inning for save situations. Who are you going to give the ball to? Is it going to be Bednar as the closer? Is it Duvall? Do you leave Weaver when he's healthy? Do you let Williams still have a crack out at it? Do you do a mix of all 4? Like, how does it going to work? Jake Bird, does he get in the mix here? So a lot of questions with how the Yankees can handle their bullpen. It's fun questions when you have so many great potential arms. But as said, if you start using the arms up, if things start going awry, it could get really ugly for the Yankees. So how they'll manage the bullpen is a big thing here. But overall, on paper, I think the moves are amazing. Speaking of amazing moves, the big team and the big trade of the deadline comes from, of course, who else but the San Diego Padres. They made a trade with the A's. They add Mason Miller and J.P. Sears from them. They give up 3 right-handed pitching prospects as well as Leo DeVries, their number 1 prospect and MLB's number 5th prospect ranked overall. They also add Freddie Fermin from the Royals, Will Wagner from the Blue Jays, Ramon Laureano, and Ryan O'Hearn from Baltimore, as well as Nestor Cortez Jr. from the Brewers. Padres, once again, know how to empty a farm system, but believe me, adding Mason Miller, who will have club control for at least 3 or 4 more seasons, is very interesting. J.P. Sears, a lefty, hasn't really figured it out with the A's. Maybe that changes with Padres. Nestor Cortez, what do you get from him? Ryan O'Hearn, backup first baseman. Is he playing DH? What's the plan there? Wagner will be bench depth. Freddie Fermin, will he be a starting catcher? Probably bench depth there. It's a very interesting deadline here for the Padres. I think this one's going to be really fun to look back on at 5 years to see how, DeVries kind of pans out with the A's and pans out with Vegas. And Mason Miller, I mean, the tweet that was kind of going around there was, you've gone from pitching in a AAA ballpark in save situations for a team where no one really cares and it's not really any playoff implication to being in the dogfight of the NL West, playing in one of the nicest MLB stadiums in Petco Park. And he is going to be a difference maker for the Padres when it comes to facing the Dodgers. And like, you're going from, striking out a bunch of guys in the AL to, needing to go and get Shohei, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman to help the Padres out here. It's a big gamble for San Diego. I love when teams take these chances. They have honestly one of the best, trades coming their way. Like, they always make these big, crazy trades. They did it with Soto. We've seen the GM, I'm pretty sure Preller, trade away top prospects. We saw it with James Wood and CJ Abrams when they went to go get Soto. Trading away DeVries to get Miller, that's a big move here. And, I think they still kept Ethan Salas, who's their catching prospect, who, Luis Campusano hasn't really panned out, and Martin Maldonado's there now. You bring in Freddie Furman, but I think give it a year or two for Salas, and he'll pan out, hopefully, unless they have to trade him next year to go get another random pitcher or player. But yeah, really solid stuff from Padres overall. They were kind of the most aggressive team here. They knew what they wanted. They went out. They went and got it. You can't love anything more than that. And they're going all in. They want to beat the Dodgers and make it far. So there you go for that. Boston, they added Steven Matz from the Cardinals and Dustin May from the Dodgers. Kind of underwhelming. As I mentioned, the Red Sox are in a wild card spot right now. They're fighting the Yankees. They're fighting the Jays. They're fighting the Mariners, the Rangers. And you have this young talent. You got some, guys in the farm system. You could have really improved your team here. And they had two pitchers who have had coin flips kind of years. So I think if you're Boston, you're a little underwhelmed. The Yankees went out. They grabbed 3 bullpen arms and a bunch of depth pieces. The Blue Jays go out, get a high risk, high reward kind of Shane Bieber. They add some bullpen depth. And you guys end up just getting a couple of starters. So if I'm Red Sox fans, I'm a little upset at Craig Breslow. I'm trying to wonder what's the plan here going forward, but I'll have to wait and see kind of how the rest of the year pans out for the Red Sox. The Reds are a really fun team, and I really want them to do well and potentially make a postseason push here. They did a lot in this trade deadline. They bring in Pirates. They bring up Miguel Andujar from the A's, as well as Zach Little from the Rays here. So a starter, third baseman, and you get some depth there. They lose Taylor Rogers to the Pirates, who again the Pirates ended up flipping to the Cubs. So the Reds are like, yeah, we'll keep you in the division, but go to the Pirates. So when we face you, it's not in high leverage situations. The Pirates are like, well, we're gonna put him to the Cubs, so you have to face the Cubs and have to face him afterwards. So that's a little fun stuff there. Ke'Bryan Hayes, you're going from division rival to being on the team now with the Reds. So it's always kind of weird, those interdivision trades here. But, he did homer today/yesterday in his first game as a Red in a crazy game. But, we'll be talking about that on Monday. But overall, love the moves for the Reds. I think it's little stuff. They could have gone a little bit more in. But again, they're kind of that one team that's like, we're in the hut here. We're in the mix. We're still kind of ways out, though. There's still a lot to happen. And, so you don't want to go crazy all in, but they did do some adding, which you love to see. And hopefully it works out for Cincy. The Mariners, they did a lot of adding, but, kind of in small quantities of players. They added Caleb Ferguson from the Pirates, Eugenio Suarez from the D-backs. Those are kind of the 2 adds they made overall. But they also picked up Josh Naylor from the D-backs. And Suarez, he is coming back to Seattle, had a stint in Seattle for 2 years. A couple years ago, that was in 2022 and 2023. Seattle then traded him to Arizona because it was kind of a salary dump. And when you look at Suarez's numbers as a whole, his worst numbers do come in those 2 years in Seattle. Did have really strong, home runs still. 31 home runs in 2022, and then 22 home runs in 2023. But his OPS, kind of his lowest overall, had a 714 that year. That was his lowest OPS in his career outside of his first year with Detroit randomly. I forgot he was ever with the Tigers, but Suarez is back with Seattle. The fans are happy. He's happy. It seems like it's a big win-win there. And that's what kind of the Mariners were missing. They had some talent guys. They definitely have all the pitching in the world, but they were missing that offensive punch. They get Suarez from the right-handed side. They get Josh Naylor from the left-handed side. Both power guys, both coming over from Arizona. Really happy with the moves that the Mariners made overall. Good stuff there. Next up, we have the Texas Rangers, who did do some adding. They pick up Danny Cullum for the bullpen from the Twins. They pick up Phil Maton from the Cardinals bullpen, and then they add Merrill Kelly from the D-backs. So he ended up leaving Arizona. Obviously, Kelly knows the Rangers really well. They face each other off in the 2023 World Series. So the Rangers, they have a good offense. They like their team offensively. They just picked up some bullpen help, picked up some pitching help as they try to battle Seattle and Houston for the division, for the wild card. So Texas doing a little bit of adding there. And then I'm going to kind of just combine these three all together to kind of save some time here because we're already running long. The Royals, the Rays, and the Angels, three teams that are kind of in the mix, but I don't really know what their deal is. The Royals, they added Bailey Falter from the Pirates and Mike Yastrzemski from the Giants. This one kind of hurts me a little bit. I love Mike Yastrzemski as a Giant. I have his jersey. So to see him not on the Giants anymore, kind of a hurtful thing, kind of just internally for me. And I'm sure Giant fans are a little upset too. He was kind of a fan favorite, faced that franchise for a little bit here. But he heads to Kansas City. They traded away Freddie Fermin to the Padres. So, some adding, some subtracting there for the Royals. The Rays were the most flippity-floppity team, to use the words. They added Nick Fortes from the Marlins. They added Adrian Hauser from the White Sox, who his stuff's been kind of gross this year, considering he's on the White Sox. They pick up Griffin Jacks from the bullpen as well from the Twins, but they ended up losing Taj Bradley, who they optioned to AAA. He goes to Minnesota. Zach Lytle, they sent to the Reds. Jose Caballero, they sent to the Yankees. Danny Jansen, they sent to the Brewers. So, again, just kind of a weird Rays trade deadline. You trade away your catcher, you bring in a catcher. You trade away your starter, you bring in a starter. You trade away another starter, you bring in some bullpen help. You trade away your depth pieces. It was kind of just a weird kind of trade for the Rays, I guess, the deadline as a whole. But that's kind of what they do. They find random players, they make things work, and that's kind of how they stick here. And then last but not least, the Angels, they added Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin from the Nationals and pick up Oswald Peraza from the Yankees. Their GM said they like their team. They're obviously competitive. That was the quote. I don't know how I feel about that quote because they're obviously not competitive. They're fourth in the division, and they're 4 games back of the wild card. So, there's room for a late push here, but is Luis Garcia, Andrew Chafin, as well as Peraza, the 3 guys that are going to push you over the edge here and to get you to compete with the Rangers, the Mariners, the Astros? I don't know. I don't think so. But you never know. But that's what the Angels did. They say they have a good team here. So, yappa yappa. But overall, that was the trade deadline. A lot of fantastic moves here. A lot of big names swapped hands. And really excited to see how these players will be performing for their new teams going forward here, and kind of which deals here are going to make or break for postseason for potential World Series championships. And that's kind of what's always fun about the trade deadline, especially with MLB, is to kind of look back on it in a couple of months, even a couple of years, couple of months, but seeing which players make the big impact here. So that's what we got to say for the deadline here. In other news, only one other news here. Cal Raleigh last night hit his 42nd home run. He continues his historic year. It's the most ever home runs in a single season by a switch hitting catcher with 42 now. And just so you know, yesterday, July 31st, 2025, Cal Raleigh hit his 42nd home run. Go back 3 years to July 31st, 2022. Aaron Judge hit his 42nd home run on this day. And of course, if you forgot, that was the year he hit 62 home runs and broke the AL record. That's the pace that Cal Raleigh is on right now. Can the big dumper keep it going? God, I hope so. With that all being said, that wraps up all the baseball news, all the trades, etc. So let's dive into the injury updates from the week here. Chris Bubich, we announced last episode that he would be on a 15-day IL. It has now been announced that he will be missing the rest of the 2025 season. A strained shoulder/rotor cuff is his injury, so he will be shut down, and that's a bit of a blow for the Royals there. Ronald Acuna Jr. ends up on the 10-day IL with an Achilles tendon inflammation. Zach Eflin, 15-day IL with lower back discomfort. Hai-Sung Kim from the Dodgers, the 10-day IL with shoulder bruises. Parker Meadows from the Tigers, 10-day IL with a strained quad. Jacob Wilson, 10-day IL, fractured forearm. And then Byron Buxton on the 10-day IL with a rib cage inflammation. Those are the guys who are hurt this week. Hopefully speedy recoveries for some of those guys, especially Jacob Wilson, who is on pace to be the Rookie of the Year. For the outstanding performances, we got Troy Melton from the Tigers, 7 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 5 Ks. Luis Castillo, from the Mariners, 7 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 4 Ks. Framber Valdez, 6 innings, 3 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, and 12 Ks. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 7 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, and 9 Ks. Jesus Luzardo, 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 4 Ks. Chris Paddock in his Tigers debut went 6 innings, 3 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 5 Ks. Joey Wentz from the Braves, 6 2/3, 1 hit, no earned runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. Nathan Eovaldi, 7 innings, 6 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 4 Ks for him. Jeffrey Springs from the A's, 6 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 7 Ks. And lastly, we got a vintage Yu Darvish, 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 7 Ks. My voice is almost gone here. We've been doing so much talking about the trades and stuff here. The stat leaderboard. Aaron Judge still leads in average at 342, but no longer leads in hits. That has gone over to Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays. He's got 132 hits, leads the league. Cal Raleigh up to 42 home runs now, 88 RBIs. He leads the league in both those stats. Ohtani still leads in runs at 100. Soto in walks with 84. New Yankee Jose Caballero still tied with O'Neal Cruz for 34 stolen bases. Judge leads in OPS still 1.160. For wins, it was Freddie Peralta with 12. He's got 2 friends now, Freddie Peralta, Max Fried, and Garrett Crochet as a 3-way tie for wins with 12. Paul Skeens still leads in ERA with 1.83. That gets lower and lower with each start he makes. Garrett Crochet, 175 strikeouts, and Robert Suarez, 30 saves, leads the league there. I wonder if he'll still be closing for the Padres or if Mason Miller will be closing. That's always interesting to see with, when you add bullpen pieces and deadline stuff like that. Because, Mason Miller is amazing. You just gave up your number 1 prospect for him. But Robert Suarez is also your guy. So who is it going to be? Is it both? We'll see. Anyways, we have the upcoming series for the weekend here. There are some good games in town. Dodgers in Tampa to take on the Rays. Astros at Red Sox. Royals at Blue Jays. Twins at Guardians. White Sox at Angels. D-backs at A's. Rangers at Mariners. Giants at Mets. Yankees at Marlins. Tigers at Phillies. Brewers at Nationals. The Braves at the Reds, including the Motor Speedway Series. They have 2 games in Cincinnati, one that was yesterday, one that's today, and then on Saturday, they're heading for that special series at the track there, so stay tuned for that game. We'll be talking about that one on Monday. The O's are taking on the Cubs, Pirates at Rockies, and the Cardinals taking on San Diego Padres here, which brings us now to the series highlight. The most important series here has got to be Rangers at Mariners. It's a 4-game series. Both of these teams are tied 57 and 52. They're both 5 games behind the Astros for the division, and they both tied for the 3rd wild card seed. They're a game and a half back of the Red Sox for the 2nd wild card seed, and lead the Guardians by 2.5 game lead. The only way this series will be bad is if they split the 4-game set. Hopefully one of these teams can get an edge and win 3 of 4, or even a 4-game sweep. That would be crazy. If it's a 2-game series split, then it gives a chance for a team behind them to get a 3-game series sweep and, get a game up. But we'll have to see from that. Game 1, they already played that. That was yesterday. Today, Game 2, Jack Leiter on the mound for the Rangers, a 7-6 record with a 4.09 ERA. He will be taking on Logan Gilbert from the Mariners, 3-4 record, a 3.36 ERA. In Game 3, it's Jacob deGrom for the Rangers, 10-3 record, 2.55 ERA. What a year deGrom has had. He will go up against the Mariners guy, Luis Castillo, 8-6 on the year, a 3.19 ERA. Circle this game for Saturday. It's going to be a good one. And lastly, for Sunday's fourth and final game in the series, Patrick Corbin for the Rangers, 6-7 record, a 3.78 ERA. He has been a pleasant surprise considering his struggles in recent years with the Nationals. He will be going up against Logan Evans from the Mariners, a 4-4 record with a 4.22 ERA. Watch for this series. It's going to be a good one. Last but not least on the docket, it is our playoff predictor. If the season ended today, this is what your series would look like. Mariners, we're going to say, have the tiebreaker, I believe, for Texas right now. So there, we'll take the 3 seed, the Astros, or the third wildcard seed, 6 seed overall. Astros are in the 3 seed. Red Sox in the 5 seed, taking on the Yankees in the 4 seed. These two division matchups would be so amazing. Sorry, wildcard matchups, but they are division matchups. Astros, Mariners, West, Red Sox, Yankees, East. The Yankees beat the Red Sox. Astros beat the Mariners. So our ALDS matchups are the Astros at the Blue Jays, Yankees at the Tigers. It's upsets in the division series. The Astros beat the Blue Jays. Yankees beat the Tigers. That's right. Yankees and Astros in an ALCS. Boy, oh boy, would this series feed families. And thanks to Correa, the Astros head to the World Series. On the NL side, the Padres in the 6 seed, taking on the Mets in the 3 seed. Phillies in the 5 seed, taking on the Cubs in the 4 seed. The Mets beat the Padres. Cubs beat the Phillies in your wild card round. So we go to the NLDS. Mets at Dodgers. Cubs at Brewers. These series are great. The Mets beat the Dodgers. The Brewers handle the Cubs once again. So your NLCS matchup, your New York Mets at your Milwaukee Brewers. And the Mets upset the Brewers. They head to the World Series with their newly acquired center fielders and relief pitchers. You have the Mets. You have the Astros. That's your 2025 World Series matchup. And the Houston Astros are your 2025 World Series champions if the season ended today. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long and special episode here. I appreciate you all for tuning on in. Trade deadline, absolutely wild. So many things to go over. I hope you enjoyed this long episode once again. Hopefully next episode we'll get back to about the 30-minute episodes, 35-minute episodes, because I'll tell you right now, my voice is gone from all this talking. So many trades went down, and I don't even know if I covered them all. I made the whole list and everything went well. I think I talked about everything that I want to talk about. So yeah, that's where we're going to leave it. I'm going to shut up now, stop talking, and call it a day here for me. Thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you on Monday.